Hey, welcome on in, guys. So today we're gonna try something new. We'll be going over an updated 2020 Wyvern tutorial. I know some of y'all might be sick of it, but there's a lot of people out there that will be, attempting Hunt 11's Wyvern in particular for the first time. And I have the perfect account. This is my mods account here, Fluffy Dude, aka something fluffy. And I actually just helped him complete Wyvern 11 auto for the first time maybe 2 days ago. So right now the gear is probably almost as close to as bare minimum as we can get. So let me run through. Today we'll go over what units are the best for new accounts to run for Wyvern 11. Possible alternatives, because as you can see here we have Luna. So not the perfect showcase. I would have preferred if this maybe was Alexa. But I think a lot of people will still have Luna. And don't worry, she's not mandatory. In fact, Alexa probably outperforms her once optimized properly. But yeah, we can go over shortly possible alternatives, because I know a lot of y'all out there may not have, for example, Crozet. But I think most of you will have A Momo and TG. But in case you don't, we can cover differences there too. Alternatives, I should say. So let's go one by one through their gear, and I'll show y'all how I actually geared them up. And remember, this is bare minimum gear, just to get it working. It looks real ugly, but it works. So it will showcase the bare minimums. All right, let's take a look. So first up, we got Crozet. Crozet is one I think a lot of players won't have. Now, a lot of people may suggest him because he's in the connections, but in actuality, a new player will never get Crozet in a reasonable amount of time. So if you weren't lucky enough to pull him, don't worry. There are completely viable alternatives. As you can see here, Fluffy Dude actually was prepping a Eternal Royal Guard before we pulled Crozet. So this one works perfectly fine. Just slap this. We'll show you the stats we have on Crozet, and just get that on TG, and it'll be pretty much the same. Let me go back to the stats. So let's see. We have 20k health, 1200 defense, and speed at 130. Now, one very important thing for tanks: speed, not important. This could be 99. We could have 0 speed on there. It just happens that we had speed set. Might as well. But really, you just want to stack as much health and defense. Now, one item we have here, this was given out on the Christmas event. So if you're watching this and you started after this Christmas event, you may not have this neck. But don't worry. Just like the heroes will go over alternatives, there's plenty of alternatives for necklaces too. But the main thing to take away is you want a health percent main stat. You could possibly get away with defense if you somehow picked one up somewhere randomly. But most of the time you'll be going for health. Here's a good one. We have flat health here, which is very few units would prefer flat health over percent health. But we rolled insane subs. Now, if you have this ring at base and you have nothing better, the fact that it had health percent, we rolled so much, was lucky. So you don't always want to invest in rolling to these, because there's a chance we hit all like attack or effectiveness, which would make this a dud for tanking. But luckily enough, Fluffy decided to invest. It worked out. But there's better alternatives that have just straight up percent health, and we'll go over those in just a sec. Now the boots are one that a lot of players will not get early on. I believe these are from Sidonia or from possibly Labyrinth. I'll double check and I'll write down below in the notes where these are from. But the boots are the hardest one because you can't get them from Conquest or Auto Tower. But if you pick up anything like this, and most players' accounts that I've reviewed, they always have at least like some kind of defense percent or health percent that they picked up somewhere. But health. One of these can be replaced by defense, but try to get more health and defense. And also, we have a +6 Envoy's Pipe. Now, let's say we were using TG instead, someone with lower base stats. We may need to upgrade this, but just have some kind of relevant artifact. Envoy's Pipe, Ego Delusion, and eventually you work towards Proof of Valor. We'll go over now the difference between our viable alternatives for Crozet, as well as an alternative for this necklace. First, I went over Eternal Guard. Eternal Royal Guard is probably the most accessible 3-star unit. you should be able to pick one up eventually. It's not a guarantee, but I promise most 99% of y'all will eventually get one of these if you didn't get anything better. So Basque is another one. Came out in this last side story pretty recently. I think it just ended, but hopefully if you're watching this, you probably were playing by the time Basque was out. If not, don't sweat it. These are just the knights. Now, of course, if you have something better than Crozet, Crow, Tywin, also better alternatives. Rose possibly works too. I've seen people do it. Just keep in mind, Rose is actually, she's more of like a support DPS, her stat wise. So she needs more work than let's say this Crozet. Another alternative though would be just having a Soul Weaver tank. The most common ones would be Angelic Montmorency, as well as Diane and Angelica. Diane came out with that Basque side event, so if you were lucky enough to pull for her, since she was limited, you could use her to tank. Combination of 2 Soul Weavers is perfectly fine. Let's show her right here. We have Diane, and then the other one, which Fluffy doesn't have either, would be Angelica. Now, Angelica is actually the premier Wyvern tank in my opinion. She has insane health, and she's really good for eventually shifting towards a 3-man setup with Angelica tanking and solo healing. But that's not what this video is about. We're just going for first time Wyvern clear, so we'll ignore that. But keep that in mind. If you have Angelica, she's probably the most future-proofable. So those are the options for Eternal Guard. Now let me show y'all the alternative necklace we have. Y'all remember that that holiday scarf? If you weren't lucky enough to be playing when that was active, don't worry. We have an alternative right here, but remember this. Make sure you're doing your arenas as a new player. Don't sleep on the arenas. Do them every day, even if you hate it. Just force yourself, and get those conquest points, because you can pick up something like this, which is absolutely perfect for your Wyvern 11 tank. And later on, if you get something that you can replace it with, it's even better on a healer. So Momo could use this much later as an endgame piece. That's how good this is. But it's a very good alternative. Insane amount. You don't even care about the subs. Just the percent health alone makes this justifiable in buying. So this is an alternative. Also, the helmet, in case you need it. Very, very good helmet to pick up for Wyvern 11. And if you need some really, really budget gear, I'm not sure if I would recommend buying this early, but just in case you have nothing else, some of these health sets are pretty decent if you happen to roll the health and defense subs, right? The helmet and chest in particular, both have health and defense subs. Okay, so we went over the main tank, which is probably the most important. Remember, 20k health-ish. 1200 defense is what we were clearing with. You could probably get away with a little bit less. You'll just have to fine tune it yourself. Let's go over the healer, who will be keeping our tank alive. Now the healer stats are very interesting. They actually do not matter. The only thing that matters for the healer is the speed. And keep in mind, this is for Wyvern 11. Of course, in other aspects of the game, you will need stats. But for Wyvern 11, with the way the mechanics work, the Wyvern will only hit the front row. So it's only going to hit our tank, meaning we don't care about health or anything else. We need to make sure, though, we take enough turns to cycle through and keep the tank alive. So our speed is important here. I would recommend any kind of speed set, and if you can get your hands on some kind of speed boots. Once again, I apologize. We have some limited holiday boots here, but just for reference sake, if you have anything else, let's say these I believe are from normal raid, which you can do before you clear Wyvern 11. Guys, I almost said chat there. Keep that in mind. Anything with speed, slap them on. Later on, you don't want to be investing in boots that are under 40 or under 40 speed, meaning an 85 or higher item level boot. But in the beginning, I think 1 pair or 2 pairs is very, very good, since you won't have anything better, and the massive amount of speed you get is very worthwhile in conjunction with a speed set. So remember, speed is the only thing important, along with the artifact. So on this Momo, we're using Magaraha's Tome. Viable alternatives would be the better ones would be Rod of Amaryllis, let's say you were using someone else to tank, you could do, or a different healer, you could do Celestine. A popular one, once again, limited time artifacts, Unfading Memories, which you got to copy for free. This is also pretty decent. Any additional healing. Now, if somehow you didn't get this, if you didn't get Rod of Amaryllis, if you didn't get Malgara's Tome, which would be probably the best picks. I guess Rhaenon's Memorandum would be the next best step. Just increases your speed. It'll stack up eventually. Probably not too important. I bet we could clear this without even having an artifact. But the first time you clear Wyvern 11, right? We want to invest the least amount and just have it on auto. So anything you can add to make it better, make it higher percent success rate, we do. So Malgara's, Rod of Amaryllis, Unfading Memories, and then possibly Rhaenon's Memorandum if you have nothing else. And that's it for the healers. Remember, speed and a relevant artifact. Okay? And Momo, you will need to invest in her eventually. Every player should be getting Momo, but let's say you don't want to build her yet. You're not really a fan of her. Angelica can heal. Diane possibly with Rod, but I probably won't recommend that as a new player. Aether is also a viable alternative, but you will need Rod of Amaryllis since he's a 3-star and his healing output is pretty weak. So most players will probably just, the safe bet is just get Momo. All right, let's go over our main DPS. So the two last units we separated into our DPS, main DPS, and then our defense down unit. Keep that in mind because when we go over alternatives, when you're picking them, always have one utility, the defense down, and then have one that's going to be doing the majority of the damage. So for our Fluffy chose Luna as his choice. A limited time unit, 5-star. A lot of y'all may not have her, but she came out pretty recently, so we'll go over her base stats. Now Luna's great because she comes with so much free crit on her S2, meaning we can get away with having 61% crit chance here. On top of the Wyvern's 15%, we're effectively at 100. Now he's using the majority of the crit damage that you get from the crit damage box in the adventure path, with a few, I think he wanted these on slight upgrades, but really if you just slap on that 55 set straight out of the box, you're golden. So for your main DPS, speed is probably the more speed you can get without sacrificing other stats, it's going to be much better. We'll go over speed tuning in a little bit. As I mentioned in the beginning of the video, it's very important. But yeah, we'll get to that in a second. So stat wise, try to get to you should get to 100% crit chance. Remember, if you have an ice unit, you only have to get to 85, as much crit damage as you can, because our main damage source will be Daydream Joker, and Daydream Joker scales very well off of crit damage. Actually, I believe only off crit damage. And if you can get attack too, of course, it's nice. Now, alternatives for Luna. We got Alexa is probably the premier unit that everyone should get. And the good thing about Alexa is every player can get her because her connection requirements, unlike Crozet, are very easy, insanely easy. I believe it's like a few, one golden badge catalyst, sun badge or something like that. And that's all you need to get her. So no excuses. Alexa, if you weren't lucky enough to get Luna, Alexa actually probably outperforms Luna. So we'll be using her in case we don't have someone better. Now, Alexa, we're not going to go over all their skill enhancements and stuff, but Alexa gets all her damage from her skill 1 and Daydream Joker. You could even run her as low as level 40. Just keep in mind she may die in that first half of the wave. But that just showcases how strong she can be because she does 2 attacks, meaning she gets double the Joker output. Last but not least, we have our utility unit here. Now, TG, just like Alexa, would probably be the premier, the most easily accessible free unit. For a reason. No Molagor investment required. Very low stats required. Free, very, like, even catalyst investment. We don't even need this, but you should invest into the S2 eventually. Right? Faster clears is always better. But the only important thing you need here for skill, and I just realized we didn't do skill enhancements for the other units. We'll get back to that. Is the effect chance on the S1. This is what makes the Terranor Guard the king of utility in Wyvern 11. 75% chance to increase defense for 1 turn. Now keep in mind, this is why speed tuning the TG is so important. We only have 1 turn of defense down, meaning if TG slaps that Wyvern with defense down and your DPS unit is too slow after him, the Wyvern takes a turn and the defense down wears off. So that's why we're going to go over the speed tuning between him and, in this scenario, Luna. So, Daydream Joker, make sure you have this on. You want the damage output from this guy won't be high, but any additional damage increases your chance of success, makes runs faster, and that's our endgame goal. So, whatever you're using here, Daydream Joker, get your effectiveness for any utility unit to 55. That is the cap for PvE. And the speed. Let's touch on the speed tuning real fast here. If you recall, our Luna has 122 speed. We basically have 13, pretty much non-existent speed from gear. So we lowered our Terranor Guard speed to 144. I actually had this gear up at 163. I'll show some footage later, hopefully, of exactly why this is bad. If the speed difference between the two is too big, the Wyvern cuts in between, and like I said, on that 1 turn defense down, the Wyvern, it'll wear off, and Luna will hit a undebuffed dragon. No bueno. The biggest factor is 10 higher means your unit will always go before your DPS. The TG is probably the least gear heavy unit. Just make sure the speed is higher than your DPS by 10 and not too much higher. And then of course effectiveness at 55. That's it. Skills off and 75% chance to defense down. Make sure that's max, and then max this out later. This is actually pretty damn useful. Let me cover the skill enhances real fast for the other 2 units, or 3 units here. Luna, if you have her, she's a safe plus 15 for the longest time. She'll be amazing at everything. But if you had to cut down, fine tune this crit to how much you need, and then I would go Ragnar Spear up to +4 for the max defense down chance, and then Infinity Slash as high as you can. Main priority. Alexa, just max that S1 if you were using Alexa as the alternative. Crozet here, I put in +3 for a 75% chance to decrease attack, but in hindsight, I don't think I even need this. Since we're kind of worrying about Crozet's, we actually have 46% effectiveness here somehow. Not intended, it's just a nice side effect. But even with 46, he doesn't land this very often. And to be honest, I don't think it's a factor. But let's say, for example, your runs are not fully auto yet and you are using Crozet or some other unit. I think Bask also has attack down. These are little things you can do to hopefully increase the success rate, but in this scenario, we did not need it. And last, Momo. Momo, like Luna, is just a safe +15 bet, especially because you don't need any Mulagoras. But if we're just using her for Wyvern 11 in the beginning and you want to save some catalysts, you don't need anything in S1. Max out S2 and S3 for the % healing. But I think that about covers it, guys. So if you enjoyed this video, please hit that sub, like, and comment below with any questions you may have. And I'll put up here right above us, I do stream on Twitch Monday to Sunday. So if you want to ask me questions in real time and I hopefully answer you quickly, that's what I'm there for. Check out the Twitch channel. We'd love to have you. And yeah, guys, take it easy. I'll have some more videos coming out soon. I promise they won't all be tutorials. We'll have some fun things like RTA, Arena, summon sessions, crazy moments on stream. I'm excited. I hope you guys are too. And yeah. Bye, guys. Take it easy. Peace out, y'all.